Welcome back to Pop Kannon. This is episode 16. I'm Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Brian, here for our Sweet 16. Wait a minute. No, that's...
We're all
Happy
officially women now.
quinceañera to all of us here at Pop Kannon.
It's our Sweet 16, and we are discussing John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum.
Parabellum.
Problem.
We sure are.
We could just call it John Wick 3, Chapter 3, Problems.
Which I was unaware of beforehand, but apparently Parabellum is Latin for prepare for war.
Yeah, very cool.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Very cool.
Si vas pacem, Parabellum, meaning if you want peace, prepare for war. Which I think they used.
They pretty much. I think they say that in the film.
Winston said that exactly like that. Yes.
I think he said it in Latin, but it's had it on the bottom of the screen. It was doing their super neato, edgy subtitles that they've been doing for the last 3 movies. Instead of just I like it too. Instead of just appearing, it's like this dramatic, and there's just fucking different fonts and colors. It's beautiful.
To me, even though it's not based on like a comic book, it feels almost like a comic booky vibe.
On Free Comic Book Day, Jordan and I saw the John Wick comic book because there is one now.
Oh, there's one now. That's
there's a tie-in.
Oh, and don't forget the official Fortnite skin.
Oh, never mind.
That's true.
So let's go ahead and end this right now.
Great episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Apparently, I didn't know this beforehand, but when I was doing a little bit of research, they plan on doing a television series based in the universe of the films.
The Continental,
which I think is
correct?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool, too, because Keanu Reeves is, going to be an executive producer, and it's all the
Nice.
people, that actually have to do with the films.
Oh.
They're branching out into TV, which is neat.
Possibly.
They're working on a video game as well.
On a video game?
A video game
Yes.
would be great.
I would very much like a video game.
It felt like a video game, yeah.
I don't think this movie felt like a video game. I think the previous 2 movies felt like video games in a good way. This one, if it felt like a bad video game, sure.
Oh, man.
Wow. So, okay, going off of that, what were everyone's initial responses to the film? Brian, let's start with you, since you...
Upon the credits rolling,
Yeah.
I had a big shrug. I was like, meh.
Why?
I don't think that this was a good script. I felt like the previous 2 movies were really about the action, and so the story didn't have to be this huge thing. And that's, so like the story in the first movie was just revenge for his car being stolen and his dog being killed. That was it. And that was fine. And then they added a little bit more to the second movie. And then it felt like for this one, they took all the story they could and crammed it into this. And there was action. There definitely was action, but it felt like they just put way too much story into it, and the story for me didn't work.
Okay. Andrew, what'd you think?
I had a great time throughout the whole movie. There were... I agree with some things that you were saying, Brian. There were points in the story that I felt a little like... Because like you said, the first movie was, they kill his dog and he goes on revenge. And then the second movie kind of opens the world up even more. And you didn't realize the depth that the franchise actually had in terms of world building and things like that.
Right.
And this one, we just keep going further and further into it. But because it's basically, it takes up exactly where the second one left off, it falls a little flat in some storytelling portions because it just kind of feels like...
So then would you say that you did not have a great time all the way through?
I still had a great time. Maybe not. There's certain moments where I'm kind of like, I would do that differently, but I wouldn't say I disliked the movie.
Okay.
Still great action. My biggest issue with the action is sometimes with me, gunfight scenes can get boring fairly quickly. And there was one part that it just kind of dragged a little ways, but, I mean, fist fights and things like that are always fun.
That too is one of my criticisms. That some of the not really the gunfights, but some of the fights, especially there's sword fighting later on. Some of the sword and knife fights went a little too long.
Okay, Rob, what do you think?
Not to echo or parrot Brian's sentiment too much. Credits rolled, and I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I definitely had a good time when they allowed me to have a good time. But a lot of the film was spent following John Wick on a quest that I wasn't aware of what even was happening. He went to a library and took out some relics from a book and got into a fight with an ogre. Which was a great fight that he broke the guy's jaw with a book, and I thought that was brutal and awesome.
And then he broke his neck with said book.
And then he broke his neck with the book after that. Some light reading,
We'll get to the fights.
Yeah.
Right. But the stuff that he acquired from the book, like, we didn't know what it was.
Right.
And then he, like, shows it to the Russian lady who's, like, wielding some sort of abusive power over a bunch of ballerinas or something.
To be technical, Belarusian.
And he shows her the cross, and she knows what it means, but we don't, and then we have to, like, wait 10 minutes to find out what it means.
Yeah.
And that just kind of bothered me, because he just keeps pointing it at her. And I'm just like, if we knew what was going on, we'd be in on, like, will she or won't she? But we were just kind of left in the dark as to what that meant. And then, we had to have that scene from Aquaman replicated here where they climb the fucking pyramid. I almost thought Ocean to Ocean started playing for a moment.
The sand dune?
Yeah. Just like, I've seen that exact shot in 3 films that I could name off the top of my head, including this one. And I know I've seen it in trailers for other films that I haven't seen.
I think why you see it so many times in so many movies, it's an homage, I think, to Lawrence of Arabia. I think Lawrence of Arabia was really the first film that filmed in color in a desert, and they have, like, a scene like that, at least a couple scenes like that. And so I think it's an homage. But yeah, I agree. It was like, yeah.
Like, if you're writing a film right now and you have a sweeping desert shot of somebody climbing a sand dune, fucking throw it out.
Yeah, it's been done.
Because I feel like that the way Andrew feels about his gray futuristic city.
Yeah,
that's very strongly.
We had to follow him on this quest that mattered or didn't matter.
It didn't.
Well,
because nothing really changed.
Yeah, that's one of my big problems with the movie. Yeah.
So yeah, like when people, like, complain about the script, a lot of times your brain immediately goes to, like, the dialogue. But John Wick was never known for the dialogue, so that's not the concern.
Right.
The plot is really like what they had him do, or what they had everybody do, like what the onus of the film was. What is really the issue where we, like, ping ponged back and forth between 4 or 5 different goals, and then none of them really mattered at the end.
Right.
So there's my initial thoughts.
My initial in-depth thoughts. Yeah. Jordan.
Initially, I really liked it. I really had a good time because, like you said, Brian, earlier, John Wick isn't really about the plot. It's about just mostly the fight scenes, for me, at least. Like, you go and you see these incredible technical fights, and I think that they achieved that. And I think part of the problem that I had with the movie was the scope. And I was talking to Rob a little bit about this. They tried to go too big with it, and I think that's where they kind of faltered, because they tried widening it too much. They were too concerned about, well, we got to make it global now.
Yeah, like I think I had said to Jordan in the text, the first one was personal, the second one was international, and the third one was global.
Right.
Like you said, Rob, that whole desert scene we could have done without.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, honestly, if you remove that scene specifically from the movie, it really doesn't change that much. He could have. I'm saying he could have went with Halle Berry's character and talked to the head of the table at that point.
Above the table.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that could have been the above the table scene.
But did he really? But did he really need to even go to Morocco? And like, it was cool that Halle Berry, he
needed to get out of New York was the first.
First thing. So this is my whole problem. Is like, no, he really didn't. Like, where we end up, the only things that have changed are that the Bowery King is out of fealty to the high table, and John's lost a finger. That's really it. That's really the only.
He
thing
doesn't have
changed.
a contract on his head anymore, though.
Oh, you don't think he does?
No.
She said that, his body isn't there, and Winston goes, "Oh, that's improbable," and she's like, basically, like, if he shows up anywhere, he's a dead man. So yeah, he doesn't have an open contract, but he's still basically excommunicado, or whatever you want to call it this time. He's not just okay with everyone.
I will say that if you enjoy the word fealty,
Yeah,
you are gonna get
Lord.
it in spades.
You're gonna get consecrated and deconsecrated and reconsecrated all over your face.
So let's talk about that bitch for a second, okay?
The adjudicator.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, she
Good
was the
Lord.
worst.
I wanted Winston to shoot her so bad towards the end of the movie.
I wanted something bad to happen to her.
I feel like, oh man, can you just wait what's gonna happen to her in the next movie? John's gonna fucking throw her off a building or some crazy shit.
There's a small part of me that hopes that whatever happens to her happens off screen and we get told about it in passing.
Just so she's not in the movie.
So she's not in the movie.
She got a really bad infection from a splinter, and she won't be able to make it.
Because fuck, she was awful, man. Oh my god.
She got a bad case of psoriasis.
Part of me was wondering if they would actually end the franchise with this one, but clearly they're moving forward.
They are moving forward.
So I'm wondering, would this movie have felt any different for you guys if, say, John Wick died at the end?
It wouldn't have been satisfying.
Oh my god. So you're saying if when he gets shot and falls off the building at the very end,
Yeah.
if he was just dead,
Yes.
I would have fucking thrown my popcorn thing at the screen and left the theater in a rage.
I would have found the manager.
But it
of
would
the
have been
theater
like
and
an
punched him in the face.
ending. You know?
Yeah, but wow.
It wouldn't have been
you don't
open-ended.
take somebody on a ride for 4 years, I guess, between the first one and this one?
Yeah.
5 years?
Yeah, okay,
No,
well, let's say
2015.
like he died like in that sword fight at the end. Like he got wounded or something and then like made it to the top of the building and none of that happened.
Maybe.
Like he shot that
like,
girl.
If he shot her and then died, I would have been like, all right.
But there's still.
I'd still feel like this about it, but I'd be like, okay.
I don't know. There's still open threads though with what's gonna go on with the Continental and the high table and the one above the table and Halle Berry's
See, that's
character and
so.
all that.
Those are all really valid questions, Andrew, and I think that's where the film fucked up big time. Is thinking that people cared about that stuff going into it.
But I'm sorry, Andrew, are you saying that with the way the movie actually ended, that there are questions about how those threads go? Because there are not loose ends with.
If he were to have died.
Yeah, if he were to have died, okay, sure. But no, I mean the way the movie ended, like those threads are not open; they have been tied off. Like the Continental's just fine.
Yeah.
Which seems like a much ado about nothing for the entire film.
Yeah. Like again, there was awesome, amazing action. Like the set piece of the Continental being invaded by the high tables, bulletproof troops. Like
those were fucking.
That was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
God, when he just
so-
when he runs
so let's
back
talk-
to the room.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What was everyone's favorite like action set piece scene?
Whew. And there are a lot.
The whole
I will say that
beginning.
there were a lot of them.
The whole beginning, I loved. When he's in Chinatown and he gets up into the room with all the different like antique weapons and things like that. And he's sitting there and he's building his own gun to the
That was
bullet
fucking
fit
amazing.
And then fucking waste the dude. And they start
For that
busting-
one shot.
Yeah. And they start breaking all the glass to get all the knives out, and they have like the ultimate knife fight with like 50 different knives, and he's just chucking them at people, and great action sequence in that. And then no one in the theater could handle it when he grabs the dude and he starts poking the knife into his
Yep.
eyeball.
Oh,
Yep.
Everyone in the
Yep.
theater was like, they're not going to show it. They're not going to...
Oh no,
And they showed it.
They're going to show it.
So that was my favorite scene as well. I just thought like the action and the long takes and the pulled back camera, which I think the John Wick franchise does so well, and it might be some of the best like action fight scenes in film today.
Yes. I agree.
So that was a great scene. Like, it was great fights right there at the beginning, especially with the breaking all the glass and everything. But in our review of John Wick Chapter 2, where we also covered the original John Wick, one of the things that I loved about those two movies was that John appeared to be a really smart action hero, and that he would, grab guns off the floor or grab, that started to go by the wayside in this movie a little bit.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
bothered me.
Why didn't he take that axe?
When he hurled it into the guy's head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Why
just
didn't he
some
take-
Could have
weapon
just
of the
taken
thousands
any
that
other
were-
Any
weapon
of those
in that
weapons.
room.
Yeah.
He could have taken any other weapon in that room and continued forward to have something to protect himself.
There were guns. There were
Like-
guns on the floor.
I was so confused by that.
Yeah. After making a point of showing him doing that for two movies, that felt off to me. Like that to me was kind of almost like a signature of this type of action movie that that they're doing, and then they're just guns on the floor and he's not grabbing them. Like, he's in a fight for his life, he absolutely would. So,
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Rob, what was your favorite scene? Or favorite fight? Or whatever, whichever.
So you guys went with that fight at the beginning. So I guess I'll go with when he meets Braun of the High Table,
Oh god, that was so great.
and then he shoots at the dog but doesn't kill the dog, which the entire theater was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Halle Berry is like, he shot at my dog, and John's like, please don't. Like, please don't. We have to fight our way out of here.
He shot my dog.
And then
I
the
get it.
the ensuing shitstorm of a fight that happens after that.
That was amazing.
Was fucking amazing.
Hey.
Including but not limited to dogs biting people into dick.
Such good
Yeah.
boys.
So
Yeah.
Such good boys.
A lot of dogs went for nuts.
so yeah, I that was fucking intense when my favorite shot specifically in that, and it was only for a few seconds, but they over the shoulder video game angled Halle Berry going through that those archways.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was, I was like, sold.
And she's just
Fucking dope.
sicking the dogs
Dope.
on people left and right.
Yeah.
They're
But
like
that specific shot of the camera over her shoulder off to the left a little bit, where you see her walking through and then she cover corners and then goes through again. Such a fucking video game moment. It
Yeah.
looked like.
Resident Evil 4, right, Jordan?
yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
So I absolutely fucking loved that.
That was great.
Fucking Halle Berry went hard as shit in this movie.
Don't shoot at her dog?
Yeah. Did you see she did basically the same training course?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that,
the three gun drill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Fucking-
awesome.
Yeah, so just don't piss her or Keanu Reeves off, or they'll kill you and everyone you love.
That was an amazing fight, and I started to think, are we? So the first movie is a dog gets killed, and the second movie he has his dog with him, and now we're getting dog's revenge. These dogs are gonna fuck up everyone they can for that dog that died in the first movie.
In Morocco, dogs kill you. So I loved all of that scene up until the point where she vaulted her dog up the wall to kill that guy on top of the wall.
Yeah.
Super fake.
Yeah.
And
Dog-
pulled me right out.
Dog can't jump that
of
high.
the film. Pulled me right out of the film.
Okay.
Because everything in John Wick has been about reality-based
Oh, well.
fight sequencing and real fights, because Keanu Reeves does 95% of his stunts in these movies, and then she vaults a dog up a wall.
Well, if that didn't take you out of it, then the whole thing through the desert absolutely would have,
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were bookended on one another, and
Yeah.
that's why I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Spinning wildly out of control once
Yeah.
the middle of that film happened.
Yeah. My favorite action sequence is the one near the end as the Continental's being invaded by the Juggernaut soldiers.
Dude.
Because it starts off with that there are Continental, like, basically they're just like concierges. They all look like Charon, and they're all just armed with like just pistols. And there's John, and then these guys are bulletproof and take out like everyone but John and Charon. And so they go down and get fucking shotguns and with armor piercing rounds, and that's where it gets a lot. Oh god, that whole action sequence was amazing.
It was.
I love you could hear the different sound, like the different sounds of the gunshots. The further in, because they just had the other concierge had little kind of like a dinky pea shooter, and it was just like a ping ping, and then John had the higher caliber rounds that were, pack more of a punch.
And he had an assault rifle too.
Yeah.
So I love about that scene that he was just smart once he figured out they were all wearing armor.
Oh yeah.
They went back in, they got the different bullets.
Yep.
And then he also was grabbing them and
Shooting
pulling their
under
helmets
the head.
up.
Yeah, or shooting under the helmet, yeah.
And shooting out of the
at
back
the
of
neck.
the neck and stuff.
Or through the visor.
Yep.
Lifting the visor up. It was so great.
Yep. He shoots at least one guy through the visor of the fucking helmet.
I just thought that was like a really smart way to get around that.
Yeah.
I like the one part where he just grabs a guy and he like puts the barrel of the gun up to his stomach and just keeps shooting it until it eventually gets through the armor.
Yep.
I think he does that with another guy's helmet too.
I felt like that was the scene in a video game,
Yeah.
When you have to like shoot your way through all of the armored opponents or whatever.
Yeah. That definitely had a feel to it.
Because even though they were wearing armor, shooting them still made them fall and recoil.
Yeah, it had like stopping power.
So he was still shooting them with the gun that couldn't affect them fatally to give himself time to kill them fatally.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have to go and fight the two little mini bosses. In the glass room.
That
I'm glad Brian shrugged before I did.
that whole thing.
So, like, visually, from an action set piece standpoint, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The glass room with the mirrors.
And I think that was all just there for that. But I don't think practically that would exist within the Continental.
We get introduced to that room like about just right before the third act. Did anyone of us actually think that was not all going to get destroyed?
Oh yeah.
I thought it was getting destroyed when he was in there the first time.
You see all the glass cases with the glass crystal skulls in them. I'm like, that's all getting destroyed. There's no way that it's either not getting shot up. I thought shot up, but so that they telegraphed that from
part of me wishes
away.
it got shot up.
Yeah.
But so those two guys that he fought,
the first two guys, right?
The first two guys, the Filipino guys that were like big fans of his.
Yeah.
There were also the two guys before that.
There were like 4 or 5 guys before that.
Yeah, but there's the two guys with the sword, and he like hits the glass with the one sword, and he pushes his friend's throat into the sword and cuts it with it.
Oh,
yeah.
That was very cool.
Great moment.
That was very cool.
Great moment. I did like the fight with those two smaller flippy guys.
Yeah.
See, I didn't.
Before the boss fight.
See, I didn't because in the first 2 movies, it's people are going for the kill. And this one, with those fights at the end, it's about gamesmanship, kind of. Like, I don't buy it. Like
they were like fans of his.
Yeah, that pulled me out of it too. Like, are you not trying to fucking kill each other? What the fuck is going on?
It annoyed me that they were fans of his, and that they like broke in the middle of the fight to be like, it's an honor to fight you.
Right.
It was a cool.
Yeah,
fight.
that annoyed me
that.
too. But I think the way that they like explained that was because they were Zero's students, so they're still learning how to fight and stuff like that. So obviously, I think within the writers' minds, they were like, well, obviously they'd be fans of John Wick.
But that also then brings me back to his name Zero, because I completely missed out on what his name was.
I had to like read about it.
I did not like that character.
Me either.
They get to the Continental, and it's a really cool scene towards the end where John puts his hand on the step, and Charon's just like, nope. don't shoot him.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that was a great moment. And they get inside, and then it's a weird 5 minutes with Zero, like being a fanboy of John Wick, and it's like
he's funny.
He goes between being completely stone faced to being like all happy. Like it's really weird, and I did not like that character, and so I didn't like that last fight either.
I like the actor because I'm a big fan of Iron Chef America.
Mark Dacascos?
Yeah, I've seen him in other things, but
I was waiting for him to yell, "Aye, cuisine!"
How great was Lance Reddick, though?
Great.
The concierge. Like,
so great.
I love him. I think he's such a phenomenal actor.
When he got strapped up, I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
Has he fought yet, or was this the first movie he's really?
This is the first movie.
This was
cool because it was fucking awesome, and I've been waiting to see him fight.
And I think he was only fighting because the Continental was involved.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like it's his fealty was to the Continental
and to Winston.
Nothing else.
I think really more to Winston, but
to Winston, but Winston, as he put it, is the Continental.
Right, fair.
So it's protect these grounds at all costs, regardless of what happens.
Right.
That I enjoy. Like they set up a lot of internal logic stuff in the previous installments, and then in this one, I don't know if it was adding too much additional information or just information that like we didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw where John trained when he was a boy, and I was just like, did we need to?
Yeah,
No?
there was a lot of filler.
Yeah, I like that before when you didn't know as much about him.
Yeah, it's the same argument with Han Solo. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like when they went through the whole the whole lair of the Belarusins, seeing all the ballerinas like practicing and her tearing her toenail off and
dude, one guy went and then stood up and walked out of the theater for a little bit.
That was intense.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
that was rough.
I'm familiar with toenail pain, so that was disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cringe city.
Yeah, but then, but again, we didn't need all that. That was all just like, I don't know.
You know what they could have done in that time? Had him fight somebody.
Yeah, more action. Really,
I think,
dude. Hey, they've now made it so that he can kill people with horses. That's awesome.
Oh,
do more of that.
dude, that was great. That was such a good scene.
I was just hoping for one horse kill, but then we got what, 2, 3?
Yeah.
3, I guess, because he tied the one guy to the back of the horse and fucking threw him into the.
It's great.
Just
Yeah, he slaps the ass on the first horse and it bucks, and I was like, wow, that was unexpected. And then he did it again, and I was just like, all right, now you're forcing me to like look at it, and you probably shouldn't. And then they didn't do it again, thank God. But I loved how the bad guys were like respectful of the horses for some reason.
Yeah,
they wouldn't shoot through the horse or move the horse out of the way with their gun to get to John, because he like spun around with the horse next to him, and the guy was like, "Oh well, hold on, show horses here, Jesus Christ."
But yeah, I mean, so as much as I love that the scene in the stable, I guess would be called, and then he leaves on the horse. That was cool. I did not like later on when there was like a motorcycle fight. That to me made no sense, and I don't know. It just like that was, out of the 3 movies, that was one of the most incoherent scenes that they've had, which is saying something because they don't really have incoherent scenes.
See, I don't agree that didn't make any sense. They just chased him on motorcycles.
Well, you mean the fighting on the motorcycle, right?
What's wrong with that?
I mean, visually it was cool. The way that they shot it was kind of awkward.
Yeah,
because you're like tight on him,
and they kept the camera at the level just above the bicycle tires, like.
So the reason why I think they did that was because I feel like they shot that just on a green screen,
and
I don't think that was on location at all. but they wanted to mimic that actual raw feeling that they would shoot it on location. But I feel like they just shot that on a green screen, thus the camera being positioned the way it was.
Right.
But I think
that was to the scene's detriment.
I don't think it was bad.
No, I'm not saying it was bad.
Yeah, but
I'm
Brian
just
said it was
saying that
incoherent.
I think that
I felt it was a little incoherent. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in a technical sense, it faltered because it wasn't practical.
Well, sure. I mean, 90% of the John Wick stuff that they shoot is practical.
Right. So when you have something that's not, like the dog vaulting up the wall or this fight on the motorcycles, I feel like they were trying to do new stuff. And I remember from the trailer when I saw that they all pulled out katanas on the fucking motorcycles, I was like, oh my God, that's going to be fucking crazy. And then seeing it, I was just kind of like, oh, and then it was over.
See, I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed that scene. I don't think there's really any issues there. I mean, could they have shot it differently? Sure. But at that point, like, you're just complaining.
I was fine with it. I thought it was kind of cool. I just really liked that shot right before the fight when they're all riding up and they all pull the swords out. That was just... I thought that was framed really cool and shot well. And no, I thought it was a cool fight. I especially liked the end when he just flies off the bike. He got the shit kicked out of him in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, more so than any of the other ones.
And I think that's part of my issue with it as well. I know that sequels, they have to do everything bigger, you know, they have to up the ante, but it really felt like they went from in the first two movies where John Wick was just an amazing assassin and maybe the best assassin in the world to John Wick is superhuman in this movie. That's what it felt like to me. And
he did get hit by 2 cars.
In quick succession.
With a bullet in his gut and after getting stabbed by a giant.
A scene that I guess a chunk of the movie that was problematic for me.
Yeah.
Was the very beginning as we're leading up to his contract going live.
Yep, this is a problem for me too. Yep.
It was super clunky because we had to keep cutting back to the fat old tattooed lady talking about when his contract's going to go live. Like, I just kept like... And then it cuts back to her one more time, and I was like, is she going to say it's live yet? And she's like, 1 minute. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Can we fucking please just make it happen already? Because that was a large portion of the beginning of the film, and we ended on the fact that it was going to happen in an hour.
Right.
And then we have to wait like 15 to 20 more minutes for it to actually happen.
Right.
It was a lot. They took a lot of time to do that.
Yeah, in an effort to ramp up the tension with that countdown, they completely diffused a lot of the tension with that countdown.
Because it's a filmmaking technique to do cuts in quick succession to build up tension. That's a thing.
Yeah.
So they lingered too long on the things that they kept cutting to, so the tension kept getting broken.
Yeah. They went back to that countdown easily 4 times.
Oh, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Now
30
it's
seconds,
live. And at that point, at 30, and I was like, dude, I don't care.
And then she literally did didn't she do the 3, 2, 1? Because everyone in that room just stopped moving until she counted down and then said it's in effect, and then the contract was open. It's just like, I don't know. I realize that with every sequel that gets released, you have to have a part of the movie at the beginning for the people who haven't seen the previous movies. I get that. But that, to me, was like just beating people over the head.
It did feel like there was a lot of filler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whether that be good filler, like longer fight scenes, or moments like that you were talking about, it feel like they didn't have enough script to fill out an hour and 30 minutes. So they just kind of really extended things and added a lot of fluff to certain areas, and it definitely showed from time to time. But then we also got really awesome extended fight scenes. So, you get what you can from it.
Yeah.
I wish there were more fight scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish it was just one long fight scene for an hour and a half.
One unending shot.
That's
just
because
walking down the street.
Because chapter 2, once he once he goes on his mission to fulfill the marker for Santonio, that is one long action sequence until the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it is.
And
Like he's in Rome, and then he's being hunted in New York, and then he's doing the hunting in New York. It's just one long action sequence. It's beautiful.
And that punctuation at the end when he fucking blows his head off inside the Continental.
Yeah.
Great. And I like that this movie picked up exactly where the last one left off. Like, he's still running from that park with his dog.
Like, and I looked at Amanda and I like hit her. I was like, oh my God, it's starting right at the end of the other one. Like, no time has passed.
It really had to, in my opinion.
No, yeah, I agree. And I loved that. And then it lived too long in what would have been the end of the last movie.
Yeah.
Again, just a little too much padding. I was going to say there were some genuinely funny bits in it too. When everybody, it actually got a little applause in the theater when he's like, "What do you need?" And he goes, "Guns."
Yeah.
Lots of guns.
Yeah.
Like, he said the thing.
Matrix. The thing.
That's a movie that happened 20 years ago.
Hey, still one of the best sci-fi action movies of all time.
So, the humor, there was a lot of humor.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of attempts at humor. You mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I don't know if this is just a trend for me recently, but like, stop putting humor in my serious.
Humor can be in the serious, but it's got to be good.
Right. I felt like
it can't be played for cheap. You know, like
I felt like we were into camp territory here, and it bothered the hell out of me.
One thing I really like about this franchise, I guess since the second one, is how unapologetically serious it takes these kind of outlandish scenarios and things.
Right.
And it works because of that. Because it's like, I don't want to say up its own ass, that's not the right term, but unapologetic about how it goes about telling the story and the classical music and the high society assassins and all that.
Right.
I love
like
that.
It plays with itself.
Yeah.
Like everything is so serious, so then you, the viewer, can derive like, God, that's funny because it's so fucking weird and awkward.
Yeah.
But like when they're cracking jokes about their society, it's like strange because it's already a weird thing that like doesn't exist, and like we don't understand what's going on. So like if they're making fun within it, it feels weird.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But like I left the theater and I said to Amanda, I was like, I felt like they went into camp, and we had literally just discussed the definition of camp because of the Met Gala, because that was like the theme of it.
Oh my God.
So it was like a continuing conversation for me and her, where I was like, I felt like it got real campy, and she was like, oh my God. Like, and I don't want it to feel like that. It's already like borderline camp because it takes itself so serious, ironically, or unironically, or however you want to word it.
You know, I agree. I think the term "over the top" can come into play. Already in the first two movies, it's borderline over the top in just how amazing a killer he is, but you buy into it because it's fucking cool, and the action is done so well, and Keanu absolutely pulls it off. But yeah, like when they're out in the desert meeting the elder above the high table, I can't believe that's a sentence I just said. But when they're out in the desert and he's meeting with him, and he chops off his finger as a sign of fealty. There we go, fealty. And then he says, if you kill Winston for us, you'll be back in the fold with us, but you'll be with us forever. And go to the room where you wear your exact black suit is just there waiting for you in the desert. Like, what the fuck? Like,
as if he knew this was going to happen, or he just always had that suit.
They knew he was coming because of the whole shootout in Morocco.
I guess, but again, writing a script for, doing the job of the writers for the writers. Like, that was another thing that just took me. I was like, what the fuck is this suit just doing there? You know.
Because they knew he was
well,
coming.
it's a suit that fits him. It's not technically his suit.
It's the bulletproof suit.
Keanu's a tall guy, kind of lanky, so that was specifically tailored for him.
They knew he was coming.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but
so you're mad because they knew he was coming.
No,
so they knew that they
no,
would
because
give...
Jordan, you're assuming they knew he was coming. You don't know that. So I'm just saying that we don't know that they knew he was coming. We're doing the writing for the writers again. That's what I'm saying. So
just imagine a scene where the elder above the high table is on the phone with a tailor in Morocco.
Yeah, I mean, you saw where they were. Like, did that look like a? They didn't have any technology present there.
No,
like,
it was pretty remote.
Yeah, like out in the middle of the fucking desert. Braun said it. Like, you know, you got to keep walking and then keep walking, and when you're close to dying, keep walking, and then maybe you'll die. You know.
So, like, what was that scene? It can't even be like metaphorical, because he literally cuts his finger off, and then for most of the shots thereafter, he doesn't have it.
Right. No, that happened. There's
So
there's no dream
physically
sequence or
happened. It
anything.
wasn't-
That actually happened.
Yeah, it wasn't like an Oasis situation or something like that, where he just saw something, or he met with some sort of god above him or something like that.
He got some really bad hallucinations, and he made it with a camel. And the camel bit his finger off.
And yeah, you didn't glean that from that whole thing? I thought.
I mean, duh.
God, read between the lines, guys. Jesus. I enjoyed the movie. I still enjoy it, even a day later, thinking back on it, because of the action.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to come off here like I'm not trying to shit all over it, because I didn't walk out of the theater going like, that sucked. I can't believe I wasted $15 on that. No, I mean, I'm glad I saw it, and I don't know if I'll buy it on Blu-ray like the other two, because I don't know if I'd watch. I'm not sure. I'm borderline on that right now, but I'm glad I saw it, and I really hope that there will be a chapter 4.
I think it did well at the box office.
Yeah, it already doubled its budget.
So. Oh, that's great. Oh, well, that's really good.
Didn't it?
Its budget was $55 million, and it made $149.2 million.
Wow.
Didn't it beat some opening records or something?
It already beat out the first one's entire theatrical run.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because it was John Wick was super word of mouth, the first film. Super word of mouth. I remember seeing one trailer for it before it came out, and I was like, oh, Keanu Reeves is doing some other menial action film. No idea. And then didn't see it till it came out on Blu-ray, bought it cold off of Amazon for like $8.
As far as John Wick 3 goes, I think I'd put it in like the middle of the pack between the two movies.
Really?
The first one was really good, don't get me wrong, but the first one was very stiff. And the first one had a lot of cuts to black, fades to black. Like, I just recently rewatched it. And I think, technically speaking, this film is far superior than the first one. So I give them all the credit in the world as far as the technical side of things, the fights, like, everything like that. I think this one falls in the middle. I still think 2 is the best of the trilogy so far.
Okay.
I agree that 2 is the best. 2 is definitely my favorite. I would put this one just below the first one. It was a little clunky from time to time, and a couple like gunfight scenes can kind of go on for me. They can just drag a little bit. Whereas I never really felt that in the first two, but some of the other action sequences in this movie are just fucking ridiculous. And I do like that we get more in depth into this world that they've built. Whether it be good or bad, I think it's cool that. Is it just me, or did it kind of feel like the entire world is in on this organization with the scope of this?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
really I think that's not
necessarily
a good thing.
No, I don't think so either.
I think they mentioned in the second chapter outright that the high table has, it's I think 12 seats, and it's basically criminal organizations from all over the world. The Camorra from Italy and Rome, and the Russians, the Chechenians. I'm sure the Yakuza. So I'm sure it's just all the big crime organizations you've ever heard of. They're represented at the high table. So it is global.
It just felt like
Hamas, other crime organizations.
I think what Andrew's trying to get at is like he's walking down a street in New York City and literally everyone is basically an assassin.
Yeah, everyone's an assassin.
There was like two guys in Chinatown when he ran through that lighting shop that were like, "What the fuck is going on?" Other than that, every single person in New York, except for these two guys, are part of this crime organization.
At least that's what it
being
felt
those
like.
two guys left out.
Why does this shit keep happening?
It's because they don't have friends.
I just want to build my chandeliers in peace, and these fucking guys keep running through my shop.
I came to this country pursuing a dream.
I love chandeliers.
Brian, do you have any closing thoughts on the film?
I mean, I've said pretty much everything I can say about Chapter 3. I'll just say that where it ends up is kind of where I was hoping it would be in, like, the halfway mark. I kind of thought that this movie would be John goes, after Chapter 2, I was like, oh, he's got no choice but to take out the high table. That's what I thought.
Right.
That's what I thought Chapter 2 was going to be, was that he's got the entire world against him. He has to take out the high table. And now that seems like exactly what they're setting up. He and the Bowery King are going to take out the high table. It's going to be John doing it, of course, but he'll have the Bowery King's help. That'll be Chapter 4, and I'm just like, well, why couldn't we have gotten that for this movie? So I'm looking forward to Chapter 4, though. Absolutely.
Like I had said to you guys after I watched it, because I saw it Thursday night. I liked it. I didn't hate it, but there's definitely parts that, like, if I get it on Blu-ray, probably gonna fast forward through about half of it.
Half?
Yeah, about half of it.
Wow.
That whole beginning, like everything that's not him fighting somebody, you don't really need.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what these films are predicated on. That's what the word of mouth was. Like, oh, you got to see Keanu Reeves do this shit. And then you get this, and you're just kind of like, what the fuck is going on now? I definitely put this at the bottom of the three, but like it's a really high bar.
Yeah.
It's a really high bar to try to jump over while you're making these over and over again. Because I am outright complaining about people who complain about the end of Game of Thrones, and like you're not supposed to do the work for the writer. You have to take what's on the screen as what it is. Like, your theories don't mean anything to anyone other than you. And that's why I think a lot of people are mad about that. And I think that's why I'm a little mad about this.
Because it didn't go the way that you thought it would?
I guess, but like when Brian said that I thought he was going to take on the high table, I didn't really have that expectation, but I would much have preferred that to what this was.
Yeah. Right. And I think part of that too is maybe they were already greenlit for a sequel. And so they were just like, well, okay, now instead of making one movie, we have to make two.
Money.
Yeah.
You know, that could very well be the
possible.
studio.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the next movie is just like, if this was kind of like a Call of Duty kind of game, this next one will be like a boss rush when he's getting through all the members of the high table.
But like, so could you imagine though, like the fourth one being John versus the high table, whatever Latin word they're going to throw at the end of it, so you could get that idea in your head?
Tabula hias.
Perneum.
Did you say perneum?
The perineum?
It's pronounced per diem. It's when you're not hourly and you're not salary.
It literally means as needed. John Wick Chapter 4 per diem.
That's probably a lot better than the one I was talking about. Mine's a kind of a different movie.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm pretty sure you were naming the seam on your grundle.
Yeah.
The perineum.
Yeah. The coronal ridge kind of area.
The fleshy funbrigium.
The taint.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I give the movie a C+.
That is a very good
I
grade
agree.
for it.
I give it.
Sure.
I give it a B.
Okay.
I liked it. I had fun. I don't go in.
Jordan's one of those teachers that's easy to please.
I don't go into John Wick thinking, oh well, this plot was bad because like I'm there for the fights.
I'm there for the fights, but when the plot's bad, the plot's just fucking
I
bad.
don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad. I don't think this was a bad movie.
No, I don't think it was a bad movie either. I
don't think I'm easy to please. I think like
Ooh. Ooh. Rob's got some heat.
I don't have I didn't have high expectations for this.
I wouldn't say it's bad per se. I would say it's wonky at times.
Yeah, that's a good.
There's a lot of wonk.
John Wonk.
And on that note,
John Wonk.
John Wonk, Chapter 3, Problem.
Per diem.
Problem.
Per diem.
Oh, God.
All right, so for Pop Cannon, I'm Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Brian.
Thanks for listening to our episode on Detective Pikachu.
Thank you for listening.
What monsters would you like to see in Godzilla? Let us know in the comment section below.
It doesn't even turn into John Wick. We just talk about other shit. Episode 16 is in the books. How did you guys like John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum? Did you enjoy it more than we did? Did we come off as nitpicky, or was it justified in your opinion? Do you have a favorite scene we didn't call out, or even one that you liked that we didn't? Where does this film rank among the other John Wick films? Let us know. Engaging with our listeners is something we love to do, and it's never been easier. Just follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube and leave your thoughts on the episode in the comments section. Make sure to search Pop Cannon Pod with a special K. And if you have a favorite on the show, why not follow them too? If I, Robert, am your favorite, obviously, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Yesball. If Jordan is your favorite, you can find him on Twitter and Instagram at JL24FPS. If Andrew is your favorite, he can be followed on Twitter at flavored_red, which is the name of his webcomic, by the way, and Instagram at Android Skeleton. And if Brian is your favorite, well, following him isn't easy. He runs this 24-hour custom tailor shop in the middle of the desert somewhere near Morocco. We're not really sure how he keeps the business alive. Barely any customers ever. Then one day he gets a call to make this black suit with a black undershirt and tie with very specific measurements. The suit was for a guy around 6'1", 175. Anyway, so it's a rush order, and he slides everything aside that he was doing and goes to town on this thing. Like, really focuses on it. They need it as soon as possible, although the guy who placed the order wasn't sure really when or if he'd actually need it. Anyway, Brian slaves away on this thing, and it is perfect. He even threw in a pair of shoes for free, and ostensibly underwear and socks. So he finally makes the delivery, and they have him hang it in this really elaborate tent situation, and he was so happy to do it, though. He really was. Finally, he'd be able to make rent, he thought. So he goes to collect payment for this rush delivery custom-tailored suit, and the motherfucker hands him 1 gold coin. Now, sure, it's gold, but what bank accepts this coin? He's never seen one before. He was infuriated. All that hard work. Well, hopefully the guy got to his gala event in time and nothing bad happened to the suit and he'd be able to wear it forever for events for years to come. Well, that's our show. Stay tuned for our episodes on Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and more S1E1 headed your way. It's a great time to subscribe to Pop Cannon on your preferred podcast platform. Thanks for listening, guys.